People think I'm crazy. Maybe they're right. But you know what's crazier? Watching people throw away what could have been their everything because they couldn't see past their own ignorance. It's like handing someone a golden key and they toss it into the gutter because it doesn't shine bright enough. That's the world we live in. And guess what? You've been a part of it too. Don't lie to me now. I see it in your eyes. The regret, the anger, the questions you keep asking yourself every damn night. Why did they leave? Why did I lose? Was I not enough? But let me stop you right there. It ain't about being enough. It's about them not seeing the value in what they had, their ignorance, their blindness. That's what turned diamonds into dust, turned what they had into what they lost. And you're sitting here drowning in the aftermath, holding the ashes of something you didn't even burn. Tell me, does that make sense to you? No, of course not. Because life's funny like that. It throws you into the fire someone else lit and expects you to walk out smiling. You see, people are selfish. Oh, they love to act like they care, like they're selfless heroes in their own little movies. But deep down, everyone's out for themselves. They'll hold on to you when you're useful, when you shine bright enough to make their pathetic little lives seem better. But the moment you dim, the moment you stumble, they toss you aside like yesterday's garbage. Let me give you a little example. Imagine a man with a rose garden. He waters it, trims it, talks to the flowers like they're his children. But one day, he skips watering them. Then another day, and another. Soon, the roses wither, the leaves crumble. And what does he do? He doesn't blame himself for neglecting them. No. He blames the roses for dying. He tears them out and replaces them with fake flowers, plastic ones that won't need his care. That's how people treat the ones they love. They neglect them, then blame them when things fall apart. Do you know what the worst part is? They don't even realize what they've done until it's too late. Ignorance blinds them until the silence becomes deafening, until the void they created swallows them whole. That's when they start looking for what they had, what they lost. But guess what? By then, it's gone. You're gone. And all they have left is the echo of your absence. And you sit here, letting their actions define you, letting their ignorance chain you to this misery. Why? Because you're too scared to let go. You're holding on to the idea of them, not the reality. You're clinging to memories, to moments that meant the world to you, but were nothing more than passing seconds to them. Here's the harsh truth, my friend. No one is coming to save you. Not them, not anyone else. You want salvation? You want redemption? You've got to get off your ass and take it. You've got to stop waiting for people to realize your worth. Because most of them never will. People don't value what they have until it's gone. And by then, it's too late. So what are you gonna do? Sit here and cry over their ignorance, their blindness? Or are you going to stand up, dust yourself off, and show them what they lost? Show them that their ignorance didn't break you. It forged you. That their betrayal didn't shatter you. It sharpened you. Because let me tell you something about pain. It's a damn good teacher. It's cruel, it's relentless. But it teaches you things you'll never learn any other way. It shows you who you are when the world tries to tear you apart. It shows you your strength, your resilience. And you, my friend, are stronger than you think. They'll regret it, you know. They always do. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day they'll look around and realize what they threw away. They'll see you standing tall, unbroken, and they'll feel the weight of their ignorance crushing them. But by then, it won't matter to you, because you'll have moved on. You'll have found your power, your purpose, and they'll be left with nothing but the echoes of what could have been. So stop wasting your time mourning their blindness. Stop letting their ignorance define your worth. You are not their loss. You are not their mistake. You are more than that. You are the fire that will rise from the ashes of their ignorance. You are the proof that what doesn't kill you doesn't just make you stronger. It makes you unstoppable. Remember this. Their ignorance turned what they had into what they lost. But it's up to you to decide what happens next. Will you let their blindness dim your light? Or will you rise, brighter than ever, and show the world that you are unbreakable? Choice is yours, my friend. But whatever you do, make sure they never forget the day they lost you. Make sure your absence speaks louder than their silence ever did. You think they didn't know what they were doing? Think again. Ignorance isn't always accidental. It's a choice, a coward's choice. People see the effort, the sacrifices, the love you pour into them, and yet they choose to look away because facing it makes them uncomfortable. They don't want the burden of appreciating something real because it forces them to confront their own emptiness. And so they run, they hide, they act like you're the problem because it's easier than admitting they were the ones who failed. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine standing in a storm, holding an umbrella over someone else. The rain pelts down, freezing and relentless, but you stand there, shielding them, taking the brunt of it. And what do? They complain the umbrella isn't big enough. They step out into the rain without so much as a thank you. And when they get drenched, they blame you for not keeping them dry enough. That's the world, my friend. People are so caught up in their own wants, their own misery, that they can't see when someone's breaking their back just to keep them standing. And you stood there, taking it, thinking they'd see you eventually, thinking they'd turn around and say, I see you, I appreciate you. But they never did they? because they're too damn blind to see past their own reflection. And here's the kicker. The moment you stop holding that umbrella, the moment you step back and let them feel the storm for themselves, that's when they'll notice. That's when they'll finally look up and realize what they had. But by then, it's too late. The damage is done. The storm is past, but the cold, the emptiness, they'll carry that forever. And you're left wondering why you ever stood there in the first place. You see, people don't value consistency. They don't value loyalty until it's gone. It's like the air they breathe, taken for granted, unnoticed, until they're gasping for it. You were their air, their steady presence, their comfort. But instead of cherishing it, they ignored it. They suffocated you with their indifference, and now they're choking on the absence they created. You want to know why this hurts so much? Because deep down you believed in them. You thought they were different. You thought they saw you for who you really are. But they didn't, did they? They saw what they wanted to see. A tool, a crutch, a convenience. And when you stopped fitting into their little box, they discarded you. They made you feel small, insignificant, like you were the problem all along. But let me tell you something. You are not the problem. You never were. They were too weak to handle someone like you, too blind to see your worth. And now, they're stuck in their own little world of regrets, trying to convince themselves they made the right choice. But you and I both know the truth, don't we? They lost. They lost someone who gave a damn. Someone who cared enough to try, even when it hurt. And that kind of loss, it's irreplaceable. Do you know what happens when people finally realize what they lost? They crumble. Oh, they'll put on a brave face, pretend they're fine. But inside they're falling apart. They'll look for you in everyone they meet, but no one else will ever compare. Because what you gave them wasn't just attention, it was a piece of your soul. And that's something they'll never find again. But you're sitting here, letting their failure become your burden. Why? Why do you let their ignorance define you? Why do you let their blindness drag you down? They didn't see your worth, and that's on them, not you. You are not their mistake. You are not their failure. You are more than that. You are the proof that their ignorance didn't destroy you. It made you stronger. Think about it. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, it's shaping you, forging you into something they'll never be able to touch. You are the storm they couldn't weather, the fire they couldn't extinguish. And one day when you're standing tall, unbreakable, they'll see you. Oh, they'll see you. And they'll realize just how badly they screwed up. But by then, it won't matter, because you'll have moved on. You'll have risen above their ignorance, their blindness, their pathetic little games. You have two choices right now. You can sit here, drowning in their failure, letting their ignorance consume you. Or you can stand up, walk out of this darkness, and show the world what they lost. Show them that you are not defined by their mistakes. You are not a victim. You are a survivor, a warrior. And warriors don't let the weak bring them down. They rise, they fight, they conquer. So what's it gonna be? Are you gonna let their ignorance win? Or are you gonna take back your power, your life, your worth? The choice is yours. But whatever you do, remember this: their ignorance turned what they had into what they lost. And that loss, it's their burden to carry, not yours. The world is watching, my friend. Make sure they never forget what they lost when they let you go. You know what fascinates me? How people rewrite history to fit their narrative. The moment you walk away, they'll start spinning their little stories. Oh, they were too much. They changed. They weren't who I thought they were. Lies. All of it. They'll bend reality, twist the truth, just so they don't have to face the fact that they were the ones who failed. It's pathetic, really. A desperate attempt to cover up their own inadequacies. But here's the thing. They can't outrun the truth forever. It catches up. Like a shadow they can't shake, a weight they can't lift. And when it does, it breaks them. They'll sit there, surrounded by their lies, drowning in the mess they made. And for the first time, they'll see it. They'll see you, not as the person they left, but as the person they'll never have again. You see, regret has a funny way of creeping in when you least expect it. It doesn't knock, doesn't announce itself. It just settles in, like a ghost, haunting their every thought. Every smile they see will remind them of yours. Every voice they hear will echo with your words. And no matter how much they try to move on, they'll always feel the emptiness you left behind. But here's the truth you need to hear. Their regret is not your redemption. Their guilt doesn't make you whole. You don't need their apologies, their explanations, their pathetic attempts at closure. Closure isn't something they give you, it's something you take. It's standing up, looking at the wreckage they left behind and saying, I'm done. Done waiting for them to see your worth. Done letting their failures define you. Done giving them the power to control your narrative. You know what makes people like you dangerous? It's not your strength, your resilience, or even your ability to endure. It's your silence. The way you take the pain, the betrayal, the heartbreak, and you don't scream about it. You don't lash out. You just carry it quietly until it turns into something else, something stronger, something sharper. They'll never see it coming. They think you're broken, beaten, lying in the ashes they left you in. But you're not, are you? No, you're waiting, building, becoming. Every wound, every scar, every tear, it's a piece of the armor you're forging. And when you finally rise, when you step out of the shadows, they won't know what hit them. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Rising doesn't mean going back to them, proving anything to them. No, it's about proving it to yourself. It's about looking in the mirror and seeing someone who survived, someone who didn't let the world break them. And that's the kind of strength they'll never understand. You're not the first to feel this way, you know. This emptiness, this rage, this need to make sense of it all. But let me save you some time. There is no sense to it. People don't leave because you're too much. They leave because they're too little. They don't betray you because you failed. They do it because they failed. And the sooner you stop trying to understand their actions, the sooner you'll find peace. You gave them everything and they threw it away. That's on them, not you. You are not their failure. You are not their regret. You are what's left when their ignorance burns everything else to the ground. You are the phoenix rising from the ashes of their mistakes. Let me tell you something about power. Real power doesn't come from what you have. It comes from what you've lost. Because loss teaches you things you'd never learn otherwise. It strips you bare, takes everything you thought you needed and leaves you with nothing but yourself. And that's where the real transformation begins. You don't need them. You don't need anyone who couldn't see your worth. What you need is to see it for yourself. To stop waiting for someone else to validate you, to recognize you, to love you. Because the moment you stop needing their approval, their affection, their pathetic little scraps of attention, that's the moment you become untouchable. That's the moment you take back your power. They'll come back, you know, they always do. People like them can't help it. They'll realize what they lost, and they'll come crawling back, begging for another chance. And you'll have a choice to make. Let them back in and risk losing yourself again, or close the door and let them live with the consequences of their actions. But let me give you a piece of advice. Don't let them back in. Don't let their regret undo all the progress you've made. People don't change just because they feel bad. They change when they're forced to face the reality of their actions. And by the time they come back, it'll be too late for that. You'll have moved on. You'll have become something greater than they ever deserved. You are not their victim. You are not their mistake. You are the storm they couldn't handle, the fire they couldn't extinguish. And one day, when they're sitting alone, drowning in the regret of what they lost, you'll be soaring, free, unbreakable, untouchable. Stop waiting, stop hoping, stop hurting. Take this pain, this anger, this betrayal, and turn it into your strength. Rise from the ashes of their ignorance and show the world what it means to be unbreakable. Because you are. You always have been. And now it's time to show them. The world will remember you, my friend. But more importantly, they'll never forget what they lost when they let you go. You know, I've always found it amusing how people can sit there with everything they've ever wanted right in front of them and still choose to destroy it. It's like watching someone hold a glass of water in the middle of a desert, and instead of drinking it, they pour it out onto the sand. Why? Because they're too blind to realize what they have. Or maybe they're just too damn afraid of what it means to appreciate it. Fear. That's what drives them. Fear of being vulnerable. Fear of being seen. Fear of admitting that they actually need you. So they sabotage. They push you away, break you down, and call it freedom. But it's not freedom. It's cowardice. They'll tell themselves they're better off without you, that you were the problem, but deep down, they know the truth. They know they've thrown away something they'll never find again. You think they don't know what they've lost? Oh, they know. They just won't admit it. Not yet. Not until the silence becomes deafening. Not until they're left staring at a world that's a little colder, a little darker, without you in it. And when that moment comes, it'll hit them like a freight train. The realization, the regret, the overwhelming weight of what they've done. But by then, it'll be too late. They'll try to replace you, of course. That's what people like them do. They'll look for you in every smile, every voice, every shadow, but they won't find you. Because what you gave them wasn't something they can replicate. It wasn't something they can buy, or beg for, or steal. It was real. And real is rare. It's irreplaceable. And when they finally figure that out, when they realize they can't just snap their fingers and find another you, that's when it'll destroy them. But here's the thing. You can't let that destroy you too. You can't sit here waiting for the day they wake up and see the truth, because that day doesn't matter. Their realization, their regret, their suffering. That's not your victory. Your victory is moving on, rising above it, becoming something they can't even comprehend. You've got to let go of the idea that their understanding will bring you peace. It won't. The only thing that'll bring you peace is realizing that you don't need them. You never did. What you needed was to see yourself for who you really are. Not through their eyes, but through your own. Let me tell you a little secret about pain. It doesn't go away. Not completely. It leaves scars. Marks you'll carry for the rest of your life. But those scars, they're not weaknesses. They're not reminders of what you lost. They're proof of what you survived. Every cut, every bruise, every tear, it's a testament to your strength. And that strength, that's what makes you unstoppable. Because here's the truth about scars. They don't just remind you of the pain. They remind you of the lesson. They remind you of the fire you walked through and the fact that you came out the other side, still standing. And when the world looks at you, when they see those scars, they'll know you're not someone to be trifled with. You're not someone who can be broken. You're someone who's been through hell and come back stronger. And they'll see those scars and they'll feel their own regret, their own shame, because they'll know that every mark on your soul, every crack in your heart was because of them. And that's a weight they'll carry forever. But don't mistake their regret for redemption. Don't think for a second that their guilt is your closure. People like them don't change because they regret what they've done. They change because they're forced to face the consequences. And by the time they do, you'll be long gone. You'll have built a life so far beyond their reach that their apologies, their excuses, their pathetic attempts to make amends will mean nothing. And that's the goal, isn't it? To rise so high, to grow so strong that their regret can't touch you anymore. That their ignorance, their blindness, their betrayal becomes nothing more than a distant memory. You don't need their validation. You don't need their acknowledgement. What you need is to see yourself for what you truly are, a force to be reckoned with. You are not their victim. You are not their failure. You are the fire they couldn't control, the storm they couldn't weather. And one day, when they're sitting alone, staring at the emptiness they created, they'll finally understand what they lost. But by then, you'll be soaring, you'll be free, and there'll be nothing but a memory. The choice is yours, my friend. Rise or fall, fight or surrender. But whatever you do, make sure the world never forgets who you are. Make sure they never forget what they lost. You know what really gets to people like them? It's not the regret itself. It's the realization that they'll never have a chance to fix it. Regret is a funny thing. It eats at you, gnaws at your soul, but only when you know the damage is permanent. They'll sit there, day after day, replaying every moment, every choice, every word they didn't say. And it won't just hurt, it'll destroy them. Because when they look back, they won't just see what they lost. They'll see the version of themselves that could have been. The version that didn't ruin everything. But let me tell you something. They don't deserve that version of you. They don't deserve the you that fought, that gave, that sacrificed. They don't deserve the you that stayed up at night wondering what more you could do to make them happy, to make them stay. Because no matter what you did, no matter how hard you tried, it was never about you. It was always about them, their ignorance, their blindness, their inability to see beyond their own damn reflection. And you paid the price. You gave them pieces of yourself you'll never get back. You built them up, only for them to tear you down. And now, you're sitting here, drowning in the aftermath, wondering where it all went wrong. But here's the thing, it didn't go wrong. It went exactly as it was meant to. Because people like them, they don't know how to keep something real. They don't know how to hold on to something that doesn't serve their selfish little desires. And that's not your fault. It's theirs. You think you're broken? You think their betrayal, their ignorance, their lies have left you shattered? Let me tell you something. Broken doesn't mean weak. Broken means you've been through something that should have destroyed you, and yet here you are, still breathing, still standing, still fighting. And that's what makes you dangerous. Because people who've been broken know things others don't. They know how to survive, they know how to endure. And most importantly, they know how to rise. But rising, that's not about revenge. It's not about proving them wrong or making them regret what they did. Rising is about proving something to yourself. It's about looking in the mirror and seeing someone who didn't let the world destroy them. Someone who took the pain, the loss, the betrayal, and turned it into power. You want to know the real revenge? It's not watching them suffer. It's not hearing their apologies or seeing their regret. The real revenge is living a life so full, so unbreakable, that their absence doesn't even register. It's showing them that they didn't destroy you. They transformed you. And that transformation, it's something they'll never be able to touch. Do you think they're happy right now? Do you think they've moved on, forgotten you, replaced you? Maybe they have. Or maybe they're just pretending. People like them are good at pretending. They wear their smiles like masks, laugh at jokes that don't reach their eyes, and fill the silence with noise because they can't stand what they hear when it's quiet. But deep down, in the moments when they're alone, when the world stops and the quiet creeps in, that's when it hits them. That's when they feel it, the void, the emptiness, the absence of you. And let me tell you something about that absence. It's louder than any scream. It's heavier than any weight, because they'll carry it with them every single day, no matter how much they try to ignore it. And you'll be free from their ignorance, their selfishness, their inability to see what was right in front of them. But freedom, that's not something they give you, it's something you take. And taking it means letting go of the idea that they owe you anything. They don't owe you closure or explanations or apologies. They don't owe you a damn thing, and you don't owe them your anger, your pain, your tears. You owe it to yourself to rise above it, to take back your power, to become the person they couldn't even begin to deserve. Because here's the truth. They didn't break you. They revealed you. They stripped away everything you thought you needed, everything you thought defined you, and left you with the raw, unfiltered truth of who you really are. And who you are? That's not someone who waits for others to see their worth. That's someone who knows it, who owns it, who doesn't need anyone else to validate it. So stop waiting. Stop hoping they'll wake up one day and realize what they lost. Because they will. Oh, they will. But by the time they do, you'll be long gone. You'll be untouchable, unbreakable, unstoppable. And them, they'll be left with nothing but their regret, their guilt, their pathetic little stories about how it was all your fault. You are not their victim. You are not their failure. You are the storm they couldn't weather, the fire they couldn't extinguish. And one day, when they're sitting in the wreckage of their own making, they'll look for you, but you won't be there. You'll be free, soaring above the ashes of their ignorance, untouchable, unforgettable. And that's your legacy. That's your revenge. That's your power.